Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the Republic of the Philippines, His Excellency Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. The President is now having a quick tour of the medical screening booths. He is joined by Health Secretary Teodoro Herbosa, Quezon City Mayor Joy Belmonte, and Philippine Heart Center Executive Director Dr. Joel Abanilla. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, the President of the Republic of the Philippines, His Excellency Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. We may now be seated.
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It is with great pleasure and a deep sense of hope that we welcome our esteemed guest today, led by His Excellency President Ferdinand Romualdez Marcos, as we mark yet another significant step in our collective battle against COVID-19. The arrival of these bivalent vaccines, which shall be administered to our healthcare workers beginning today, is a crucial milestone in our ongoing efforts to protect them from various serious illnesses. Last May, the World Health Organization declared that COVID-19 was no longer a global health emergency and that the virus was much less alarming. Despite this, however, new strains and variants are identified every so often, and while we now have the freedom to return to our pre-pandemic routines of working on site, sending our kids to school, or going about our regular activities, there is still concern for our health and safety, most especially that of our vulnerable sectors. Unfortunately, our healthcare workers who have to date are our greatest heroes, continue to be at risk of this invisible enemy day in and day out as they go about caring for our sick loved ones. Since we started our vaccination efforts in March 2021, we have witnessed how effective vaccines have been in deterring the spread of COVID. In Quezon City, we mobilized different strategies in order to encourage all QC residents and workers to be vaccinated. As of June 20, Quezon City has administered 6.8 million doses of vaccines, including booster shots. 84% of our population, both adults and minors, are fully vaccinated. I'm sorry, it's just 84%. But today, with renewed optimism, we can look forward to the end of this virus. We also thank the government of Lithuania for donating these vaccines to the Filipino people. Most especially, we extend much appreciation to our national government, led by our beloved President Bongbong Marcos, for choosing the health workers here at the Philippine Heart Center in Quezon City to be the very first recipients of this vaccine in our country. By protecting them, we are also protecting the patients that depend on them for their health and well-being.
Moving forward, it is my pleasure to introduce the President of the Republic of the Philippines, His Excellency Ferdinand Romualdez Marcos Jr.
Thank you very much for your kind introduction and remarks, Secretary Ted Herbosa. Please take your seats. Secretary Ted Herbosa of the Department of Health, Quezon City Mayor Mayor Joy Belmonte, who was saying that her vaccination rate of 84% was unsatisfactory, and I was just telling her it's a very good number, and we should congratulate her for having managed to do that. Now we call upon her again and all the local government units to bring those who are in the vulnerable category. Hindi ko na lang sasabihin yung mga may edad kasi kasama na ako dun. So, but back to and encourage all of them to get this bivalent vaccine. The Philippine Heart Center Executive Director Joel Abanilla, my fellow workers in government, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Every time I address our frontline workers, health workers, I always begin with a big thank you to all of you for all the sacrifices you did during the height of the pandemic, for all the work that you put in that saved millions, and I'm not exaggerating here, millions of Filipino lives. And furthermore, the risks that you knowingly took to continue your work, to treat those who had come down with COVID in whatever way kulang lahat, kulang ang PPE, wala tayong vaccine, wala tayong lahat ng kailangan, hindi natin naiintindihan. I can speak of this intimately as I was a victim. And that's why I know the condition that the patients felt, and what a relief and what a godsend your care was to all of those who had suffered from COVID. So once again, thank you, thank you, thank you very much for all that you did. It is an honor for me to speak to you today as we have attempted to emerge from the global pandemic and walk onto the clear path of recovery. We have been praying that the COVID-19 pandemic will soon be over, and in a way our prayers have been answered, because the incidence of COVID-19 amongst our populace, especially since the vaccines came into play, have certainly decreased. And even the symptoms that we suffer are no longer as severe as they were with the original onset of COVID-19. And then coming on to the Delta and the Omicron variants, we have seen slowly that this danger has gone away, has almost completely gone away. However, these new variants force us to once again re-examine what it is that we can do to help protect our populace. And that is why we are now here today to highlight this extremely important program, once again, vaccination program, which we are going to have to institute. Because although the general populace, and the general populace, the symptoms have lessened, hospitalizations have lessened, even the incidence of mortality has lessened. However, there is a very distinct group that is highly vulnerable to these new variants, and that is what we are vaccinating for. And that vulnerable group are those with severe comorbidities and with those who are a little senior. Our senior citizens. So all of these, and so we must not let our guard down. Although the rest of society, the other sectors of our society that have tried to move on and say the emergency is over, and certainly in a way we can say that is the case. However, it is not over completely, and that is why we should not be complacent, and that is why we institute programs like this, which continue to seek to protect our vulnerable populace, our vulnerable sectors of our populace, and that particular demographic in this case is that of the elderly. May the Almighty God continue to bless us with His divine protection and grace. And I thank you all very much once again for your service, and I thank you once again to rising up to this challenge and taking on this new program of bivalent vaccination for our populace. Magpabakuna na po kayong lahat, at magpabakuna po tayo para hindi na tayo magkasakit, makabalik tayo sa trabaho na mas mabilis, at lahat ng nais nating gawin ay may gagawa natin dahil tayo ay ligtas sa sakit. Kaya't mabuhay ulit ang trabaho ng Department of Health, mabuhay ang mga Pilipino, mabuhay tayong lahat. Maraming salamat po sa inyong lahat.
Thank you, Mr. President. That concludes our program. Thank you, Mr. President, for gracing the event today. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, His Excellency Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.